Johnny here. Right now I'm in the Hunza Valley in northern Pakistan, the very heart of the Karakoram Mountains. And in this short film, I'm going to talk about one of the best trips we offer, the Karakoram Adventure. As far as exciting cultural adventures go, this one has it all. From epic mountain scenery to vibrant towns and cities, from drifting around on tranquil lakes to visiting evocative temples and mosques, it's a trip for the travel connoisseur, eager to see life on one of the world's most important and influential trade routes. The tour starts in Kashgar, one of the Silk Road's great crossroad towns. Today, Kashgar is a tale of two cities, with modern China on the one hand and the old world of mosques, tombs and narrow alleyways on the other. And you'll be there for the famous Sunday market. The Yakshambe Bazaar, or Sunday market, is a fascinating place to spend a few hours watching the Uighur, Tajik and Kyrgyz locals as they come into town to trade their goats, camels and donkeys. It's a vibrant place full of character, and it doesn't take much to imagine you're back on the old Silk Road. From here, heading on the southern branch of the world's most famous trade route, and on what is now the equally famous Karakoram Highway, or KKH as it's known, you'll drive through Kashgar, past the 7,000-metre Mount Mustang Atta, cross the Kunjarab Pass, the highest tarmacked border crossing anywhere in the world, before heading down into Pakistan and clearing customs at Sust.
When you get to Gulmit, you're going to have two choices. Either you get on one of these boats behind us and travel 22 kilometres across this new lake, as our groups have been doing for the last 5 years. The lake was formed when a massive rock slide in 2010 blocked the Hunza River and basically sank the KKH under this massive lake, 22 kilometres long. Or you can take the new road tunnel built by the Chinese and inaugurated on the 14th of August 2015 around the side. Either way, you're in for a pretty spectacular journey.
And of course, one of many highlights on this trip is to come and spend time in the beautiful, spectacular, gargantuan Hunza Valley.
They have an expression in Hunza: a house without a view is like a house without a roof. Kind of useless, in other words, and it's hard to imagine them ever making a house here without a view. That certainly won't be a problem from the hotel we use, the Eagle's Nest, high above the valley floor. Just look where we have breakfast. From a viewpoint just above the hotel, 7,000-metre peaks can be seen, making it surely the most accessible cluster of giant mountains anywhere in the world. While we're here, we'll go for walks along one of the many water channels, visit the amazing Baltit Fort, the Hopper Glacier, on which we'll have a chance to walk, and just relax amongst one of the world's most magnificent settings. From here, it's back on the road to carry on south along the Karakoram Highway. The KKH runs all the way from Kashgar in the north to Abbottabad in the south, covering some 1,225 kilometres. The Pakistanis like to call it the eighth wonder of the world, and I have to say it's hard to imagine a more dramatic road journey. In Gilgit, we'll see the Christian cemetery, home to one of the famous luckless great gamers, George Hayward, who was murdered near here on a mountain pass in 1870, and we'll stay at the lovely Serena Hotel before cracking on south.
About an hour south of Gilgit, you're going to stop here at the confluence of the Indus and Gilgit rivers. It's the point at which three of the world's great mountain ranges collide. To my west, you have the Hindu Kush. To the north, you have the Karakoram, and to the east and south, you have the Himalayas. Indeed, standing in front of me now is the gigantic form of Mount Nanga Parbat, the peak of which stands at 8,125 meters above sea level. And it's the Nanga Parbat Massif that represents the very western end of the Himalayas.
Next stop is the hugely spectacular Fairy Meadows, where we'll have a chance to stretch our legs in front of one of the best views of the giant Nanga Parbat, before heading on south, out of the mountains and into the plains. And here we'll visit one of the most exciting cities in South Asia, a place which is modern in parts, but in others deeply medieval.
He sat, in defiance of municipal orders, astride the gun Zamzamar on the brick platform opposite the Ajiv Gher, the Wonder House, as the natives call the Lahore Museum. So begins one of Britain's best-loved novels,
Rudyard Kipling's Kim. The Zamzamar is still there on her brick platform, and it was said whoever held Zamzamar held the Punjab. Well, the British captured Zamzamar from the Sikhs during the Anglo-Sikh Wars of the 1840s and held on to, of course, not just the Punjab, but the whole of India for another 100 years. Rudyard Kipling himself would have spent a great deal of time here because his father, John Lockwood Kipling, was the curator of the Lahore Museum. And I'm not one to spend much time in museums. I prefer to get out and about and see the world as it really is today, rather than spending a lot of time in a dark room looking at broken crockery. But I have to say, the Lahore Museum is an exception. It's one of the finest museums I've ever been to, with a breadth of history dating back to pre-Indus civilizations on the one hand, through independence and partition, and the various wars Pakistan's had with India over Kashmir on the other, right up to the present day. It's a phenomenal museum that needs at least an hour, if not two, to look around, which of course you get on the Karakoram adventure.
Other places we're likely to see in Lahore are the old cathedral, the amazing fort, which was the seat of power for both the Mughals and the Sikh empires. We'll visit the hugely impressive Badshahi Mosque, which is almost identical to the Jama Masjid in Delhi. We'll take a stroll through the busy bazaar, where you'll also see the wonderful Wazir Khan Mosque, which has to be one of the most beautiful places of worship in the whole of South Asia.
Of course, Lahore is also famous for its cuisine, and no trip to the city is complete without having dinner in Food Street. There are plenty of establishments at which you can take your dinner, but my own personal favourite is the Cuckoo's Den. Not only does this have exceptional food, it also has a great art gallery on the ground floor, and the views from the rooftop terrace over the Badshahi Mosque are simply stupendous.
From Lahore, we'll drive 30 kilometres to the border, where we'll also get to witness the extraordinary closing of the gate ceremony before heading on to Amritsar.
The Harimandir Sahib, or Golden Temple to give it its more popular name, was recently voted by Top Places to See in YourLifetime.com as the most beautiful temple in the entire world. Standing here, it's easy to see why.
But it's not just about the beauty of the temple itself. The whole enclosure has a really special feeling to it, and I just love to walk around and let my mind unwind. Although many people visit, it's one of the most peaceful places I know. And finally, saving the best till last, is the magical land of Kashmir, that mythical worldly paradise in India's far north. Here we'll have time to relax on the wonderful houseboats, float on the lakes, walk in the hills, and just enjoy the end of what has been a truly amazing adventure.
The Karakoram adventure is an epic journey through some of the world's most magnificent mountain landscapes. But above all, it's an incredible cultural odyssey along one of the most important trade routes in the history of the world.